to Sports Buds TV. Join in as we explore the latest news and thrilling matchups. Whether you're a diehard or a casual, this is your destination. Let the games begin.
All right, welcome back. This is Sports Buds TV. My name is Serge. Today is September 19th, and there's a whole lot going on in sports. So let's get into it. All right, we'll chop it up then. Before we get started, as always, we begin with the NFL. But before we get right into it, I think we need to spend just a few moments here to give a shout out to the undefeated teams. It is now the end of week 2. And thus far, we do have a list of undefeated teams. So if you are a fan of any of these teams, you definitely should feel, pumped up, hyped up, excited about your start to the season. I'm sure you're hoping that you can continue the momentum. But right now, we're going to just go ahead and give a quick shout out to these undefeated teams. And they go as listed. We have the Dallas Cowboys. We have the Miami Dolphins. We have the San Francisco 49ers. Coming after them, we have the Baltimore Ravens, the Atlanta Falcons. Of course, rounding up our list here, we have the New Orleans Saints, we have the Philadelphia Eagles, the Washington Commanders, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So there you have it, folks, your undefeated teams through 2 weeks in the NFL. So shout out to these teams. If you're a fan of these teams, you definitely should be feeling like anything is possible right now, right? So we'll see if you can keep it going. A young season so far, but, should be proud. Let's get into it then. Today, we will start things off by recapping the NFL Week 2, and we'll kick things off with the Green Bay Packers. They faced the Atlanta Falcons, and that ended up being a 24-25 result. Of course, that winner would end up being the Falcons in the end. We saw Ritter struggle a bit, had a turnover there with an interception. Looks like Love continues his steady streak, had another big 3 touchdowns for the Packers. Bijan Robinson, for the Falcons, definitely put on a performance there with a total of 124 yards. And in the end, it was enough for the Falcons to get that nod. So we'll keep it moving here. We had thereafter the Las Vegas Raiders going up and facing the Buffalo Bills. Now that's a bit of a tough task just in itself, having the Raiders go from one side of the country all the way to the other side of the country to face the Buffalo Bills. Josh Allen had a great performance with 3 big touchdowns. Jimmy Garoppolo did struggle, having 2 huge turnovers with the 2 interceptions. In the end, also Gabe Davis stepping up with big 92 yards in total with a touchdown for himself and helping the Bills get the nod over the Raiders. In our next matchup, we have a divisional face-off. It was the Baltimore Ravens taking on the Cincinnati Bengals. The Ravens end up winning the contest 27-24. We did see Lamar Jackson with 2 huge touchdowns. Joe Burrow had a decent game, 2 touchdowns of his own. He did have 1 interception, so that definitely did not help matters. But we'll keep things moving. Thereafter, we saw the Seahawks taking on the Lions. If you've been following along here on Sports Buds TV, I'm big on the Lions this year, and they put on a performance. In the end, Jared Goff had 3 huge touchdowns, but had a costly turnover. He threw his interception. He was on pace to, hopefully tie or set a record for most attempts without an interception. That's no longer the case after this game, having thrown his interception there. Geno Smith definitely had a great, good game for himself. 2 touchdowns there to help get the nod there from the Seahawks. In the next bout, we have the Colts taking on the Texans. This ended up being 31-20 for the Colts. Of course, Gardner Minshew ends up coming into the game. He's got the 1 touchdown under his belt. Stroud ends up getting 2 touchdowns for himself, but it not being enough to get that win. Coming to the next bout, we saw the Chiefs taking on the Jaguars. And, after the performance in week 1, the Chiefs were looking to bounce back, and they did just that. Patrick Mahomes had 2 touchdowns to help his cause. He did have an interception in the game. Trevor Lawrence, put up just over 200 yards total. It just wasn't enough for them to get the win there against the defending champions. In the in the next game, we did see the Bears taking on the Buccaneers, and the Bears continue to struggle. Justin Fields continues to struggle. There's quite a bit on X or Twitter, right, about his reads, what's going on with the Bears, how his maybe understanding of the offense, or maybe not even sure what's going on with him, but he's definitely not on the same page, it seems like, with his receivers, or maybe he's just not seeing things. Right now it's tough to say, but the Bears are struggling. The Buccaneers end up winning 27-17, and we'll see if the Bears can end up getting the ship right. We'll see if the Buccaneers can keep their streak, undefeated. So good stuff to take away from that outcome, at least for one team. And the next, we had the Chargers taking on the Titans. This was a 24-27 win for the Titans. Tannehill with a nice touchdown. Justin Herbert had 2 touchdowns, but it just wasn't enough to put the Chargers over. Next up, we did have the Lions, the Giants, facing the Arizona Cardinals. And it looked like for a while there, Arizona was going to get the win. They were going to come out with it. But the Giants end up answering back. Daniel Jones has an interception, but, answers with 2 touchdowns. Saquon Barkley has a touchdown for himself, and they end up being able to pull out that win and, continuing to try to correct, those mistakes from week 1. So definitely interesting there. We'll see what keeps going out of each of these teams as we progress. But yeah, the Giants are able to come back in the end. This next one, as you can maybe tell, it's been a little tough for me to kind of get to this one. But next we had the 49ers taking on the Rams. The 49ers traveled to Los Angeles, or I'm not even sure, because the stadium seemed to be just up to, the absolute limit with 49ers fans. You did see, your pocket of Rams fans there, but there's definitely a noticeable difference and who was supporting what team out in LA this weekend. It ends up being 30-23. The Niners get the nod. They win. They take that W. But in the end, I'd have to say, I think this was a closer outcome than most had anticipated. And, just don't sleep on my boys. But, I'm not going to spend too much time on that. We'll keep it moving here. For the next matchup, we have the Jets facing the Dallas Cowboys. And the Dallas Cowboys are just, rolling right now. Granted, after what happened in week 1, we did anticipate, that this matchup would have, Aaron Rodgers on that other side of the ball and, facing that Cowboys defense. We did not, we are not getting that. All the best to Aaron Rodgers. Hope he gets healthy soon. But the Cowboys ended up taking care of business, and it was not at all what we were hoping we would get, when the season was kicking off. We'll keep it moving here, and we had in our next matchup the Commanders taking on the Broncos. And it looked there for a minute, the Broncos were doing enough, and all of a sudden in that fourth quarter, the Commanders answered back with 2 huge touchdowns to go ahead and get the nod and take the win and, move on to continue to be undefeated for the Commanders. In their case, the Broncos still haven't been able to get their win. We'll see how this season continues to treat each of these teams. Let's see. What do we have next? Next on, we have the Dolphins taking on the Patriots. Let me look into this one here. Oh, yeah. So here we had a 27-17 outcome. And you might think at first glance, oh, wow, the Dolphins, just dominated. But in fact, in that fourth quarter, the Dolphins put up a touchdown, helped, definitely secure the game for them. But the Patriots had 2 touchdowns scored in that fourth quarter. So they made it competitive. And, you just can't count them out, right? Until the game's over. You just never know with these Bill Belichick, coach teams. The next bout, we had the Monday night, 2 teams, the Monday night 2 games that were slated. So this might have been a bit tough for us to kind of switch from one and then the other as we were enjoying our Monday night games. But we did see the Saints taking on the Panthers in the first bout. Saints end up winning 20-17. the matchup wasn't really that close. I know that in the end, the Panthers came back and scored 11 points to make it a closer, score. But the Saints are on a roll right now. They continue 2-0. Panthers are still struggling to get that first win. And in the final matchup of the week, we saw the Browns taking on the Steelers. This was an interesting divisional rivalry type of game. We saw the Browns definitely, put up a fight there. For a while, it looked like they were going to pull out the win. And Pittsburgh in that fourth quarter is able to get the go-ahead score. The defense just, kept coming up with stops when they needed the most. Of course, the Browns got points, but in that fourth quarter, they got a shutout. The defense pitched a shutout for the Steelers. So, kudos to them. They get their win. They split 1-1 the season. So do the Browns. But that is our week 2 recap. Still a whole lot of season left. We'll definitely be recapping and predicting actually the week 3, and that'll most likely be this Thursday. We definitely want to make sure that we cover. I will give my prediction for this Thursday night game here, as we wrap up the show. But before we officially got started with everything else, we just wanted to recap week 2. So moving along with the show, another big sports event in regards to MMA, combat sports in total. It was definitely an exciting weekend. This was the Septiembre 16, right? It's Mexican Independence Day. It's a big sporting event. A lot of us sports fans, this is one that we mark on our calendars, either, in most cases for boxing, and some cases, events like MMA. And, in this case, we had Noche UFC. And in that fight, in the main event, we saw Alexa Grasso taking on Valentina Shevchenko. Of course, this is a rematch. Sometime back, these two faced off in the octagon. At the time, this was a bit of an upset, right? Where we saw Grasso being able to get the submission win over Shevchenko, taking the flyweight title from Shevchenko and now being the reigning champion. Fast forward now, some months have gone by, and they set it up for Noche UFC, September 16th at the T-Mobile Arena. We saw them rematch for, the second fight, and in the end, they go the 5 rounds. It goes the distance, so then we see what the judges score, and this is where it may have gotten a bit questionable for some fans. They end up scoring it a draw. So 2 judges, split. The last judge scored it, a draw. So with that said, there, we look at the cards here. The judge that had it scored a draw, which, he ends up being the deciding factor. He ends up giving the 5th round a 10-8 score, which is a bit questionable. I mean, you could see definitely where Alexa, I would say, won the round, but to score that one at 10-8, I don't I didn't see quite enough to make that difference. I definitely felt like Alexa did enough to win. I would not have been upset with a draw, but if I'm not upset with a draw, then definitely Valentina would have done enough to also get the nod. It's just depending how you're scoring, what you're looking for as a judge. Some of the stuff that you have to consider. Sorry about that. So with that all said, we went to the decision. The draw ends up rewarding by default. We saw Alexa retain the title. So, Valentina being the proud, champion that she's been, the warrior that she is, she's definitely, feeling like she might have been, slighted there, that there might have been some home cooking, So with that, I bring it up because reports are now that Valentina is requesting to have the 3rd match of the trilogy, but it now be, in her, for her to have the home cooking, right? For the fight to take place where she's from. We'll see if that's able to be done, but I definitely am invested and would love to see the trilogy. These two have proven over a course of, the 2 fights that they've had that it's an interesting matchup. And I'd love to see what happens in that 3rd fight, how Valentina approaches the fight, how Alexa maybe has to adjust to, walk away with her title for, she took the title, walked away with her title, and this would be a second time that, the title's on the line against Shevchenko, who is a just dominant champion in her own right. So hopefully more to come with that soon. Just wanted to spend some time and recap the Noche UFC, an exciting event. Other fights were on the card. Just wanted to talk and chop up, that main event. Speaking of which, a lot of fights, a lot of combat sports was going on over the weekend. We actually saw quite a few winners in boxing, on Friday and Saturday night. So I want to take just a few moments and give another, huge shout out to the boxing winners over the big holiday weekend. We have a list here. I wanted to just run by that list and, how the method of victory. First on here, I have Luis Alberto Lopez Venado getting a UD decision win there. Next after that, I have Xander Sayas with a TKO in round 5. And then, of course, with the steady schedule that he is keeping, Emiliano Vargas, Fernando Vargas was also in action. He got a TKO round 3 victory. So let's see, what else do we have on the list here? All right, and then I have Erica Cruz with her unanimous decision. Sky Nicholson, she got the UD win. And William Cepeda with a knockout in round 6. So shout out to these winners. Also must take just a few moments to give our respects and, wish all the very best to the family. In Sky's fight, she faced an opponent, and the trainer of that opponent is the husband as well. He ends up, passing away during the fight. He had a situation, I believe it was a heart situation, went rushed to the medical facilities where I believe he was then pronounced, that he had passed away. So may, our thoughts and prayers are with them. Our best, condolences. All our condolences are with them. May they rest in peace. And definitely take a moment to, wish them the best, the family, everyone that was affected by that. I just wanted to, give a shout out to those winners in boxing. Definitely exciting times for all of the competitors and, being able to continue on that streak that they are on. With boxing, speaking about boxing, we are less than 2 weeks away from Canelo Alvarez facing Jermell Charlo for the undisputed 168 titles in boxing. This is a huge event, one that I can't wait to cover, to predict. Definitely excited to go over that. We'll get more into it next week as we get into fight week. The official start to fight week. It's much anticipated, and one that we can't wait to get into, to chop up like we like to do here. Before we, just for tonight, wrap up everything, there is a Thursday night game. So I will give my pick. We will see the Giants taking on the 49ers this Thursday night. So it's a short week. And, the Giants are going to have to go to the 49ers. So they're going from New York to the East Coast all the way to the West Coast. Giants are now 1-1. The 49ers are 2-0. I mean, it is a short week. So right now I'm going to go with the Niners and saying that they'll take care of business at home. But with these Thursday night games, as we've seen, anything is possible. Have the Giants been able to correct their issues that they faced in week 1? Was week 2 coming back against the Cardinals enough to maybe get them back on track? We shall see. I think the Niners end up winning this bout, but we will be back on Thursday to discuss the game and discuss the results, see if we were, see if I was right. I'd like to hear from more of you. Please like, comment, subscribe. We want to know your picks, how you feel about these recaps, how you feel about the outcomes, so follow us on all platforms. This has been Sports Buds TV. I have been Serge, and I just want to thank you for your time. Y'all be good. Catch you on the next one.
Thank you for listening. Hope you enjoyed the latest episode. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and follow. See you